The only difference between her contract and mine was a statue that was bought that I paid for.
Here? Is that what you mean? R.A.?
That's me.
I only see that twice.
The other side is where we scribbled it because that was the last day that we saw each other on 11/6.
You don't see that R.A. there?
Yes, but that was for a statue. I bought this $150 item because your husband was gonna pay for it. So either you give me the money for that statue that has absolutely nothing to do with the contract, or I'm gonna go get it from your husband. She went, she gave me the $147, she paid the statue in full, and that's why she still owes me $600. As a matter of fact, I got text messages when she stopped communicating with me, text messages to her husband. I even went to her husband saying, please, if she doesn't wanna meet me, we can meet somewhere else and make these payments.
I see your initial there next to 121.
Yes.
I don't see that it says specifically for a statute, though.
That's because it's not. And yes, there was a statue, of a castle statue. However, it was repaid by giving her a statue, and I have those receipts.
How do you explain the second payment being 121? How do you explain that the two payments on the back with your initials towards the loan?
So she only made two payments, 100 and 122, because she wanted to leave it on the loan. She goes, no, I'll continue paying the money on the loan. And I just had a gut feeling. And I said, no, please just give me my money for the statue and we'll just continue, because she swore that she would continue paying the $600. And she never did.
I do have a question about your attempt at trying to pay the plaintiff back, you said twice.
Well, she blocked me November 8th. One of them was the day of the loan. The car didn't go through. Do you want your money back? No, see if you can get the key. And the second one was I had gotten a check from a friend, and I asked if she wanted the payment in full. She said, no, keep the money in going into the store.
One last thing, if I may,
yes,
to respond to that. It's not that I told her keep her money. When she found out that the Beetle was missing a key fob, I think that's what it's called, and I'm like, well, are you gonna get it still and replace the key fob? How much is the key fob? She goes, I don't know, I have to do more research. I'm like, well, anyway, here's the money for the car. Right. However you would solve the key fob is your problem. I had still handed her $800.
Okay.
She never came to me after we finished speaking to offer to pay me. If that's why you see me texting her husband,
right,
please pay me my money, and he never texted me back.
Well, she's saying you're doing it now because the friendship ended, so you're kind of being
No, you could see when these dates of the text messages were. Back in Thanksgiving, I even texted the husband saying, please tell your wife I said happy Thanksgiving. And she still hadn't paid me.
May I ask you a question, Rahiza? What do you do for a living?
I live on Social Security.
Okay. Did you put anything in writing about the business agreement?
No, that was verbal.
The impression that I have is that it was confusing to the defendant.
She's the one that wrote out the contract.
I know wrote out the contract, but the question of paying what it was being paid for. All right, I have nothing further. Judge?
No.
All right, we're going to excuse the parties while we deliberate in this case. Thank you both very much. Thank you.
This courtroom is now in recess. Go ahead and exit. You should doors right.
Well, I think your point at the end, Judge Michael, was right on point. I think this is a very confusing arrangement. However, we do have a written contract, and to the extent that the confusion may have been around whether it was discharged by some other service or payment, I think that has to go second to the fact that the one thing they did do was memorialize this contract in writing. So I think the $600 loan is valid. It appears clear to me that at least $200 of it was paid back. And I'm not sure about this remaining $140 about the statue. I'm interested to hear what the two of you think.
Well, as I said, I'm confused, and I remain confused at this point in the sense of the defendant denies that the money was for the statue. I tend to give the defendant the benefit of the doubt on that issue.
It's pretty weathered here. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what this last 121 was made for. It says something about 7 months. I'm not sure.
Looks like the dog ate part of it.
Yeah. I think this is something separate from the two that were made here towards the loan. I'm willing to credit the defendant for these two alone.
Would you give her the full $600, or would you deduct the $21 from the second payment as well?
I'm not going to deduct the $21, because if that were the case, she'd get less than $600. Right.
We're going to credit her testimony that the statue was a separate transaction, right, and so the additional monies paid toward the statue were not part of the repayment of the loan, and therefore she is entitled to the remaining $600. Yeah. So we have a verdict.
We do.
We have a verdict.